Hey guys, this is Christina from I Am That I Am Publishing, and for this video I decided to do a sit down because that whole stand-up teacher mode, I don't know, just wasn't into it. So welcome to my magic chair. Today what I want to talk about is the God principle and the concept of male, female, the word his to be specific, and deconstruct the letters of the word his to give people the ability to read the Bible specifically, or any other book that you wish, but the Bible is my favorite text to play with. And you can really see things in a different light and see the Bible from a different perspective when you interpret it from a oneness point of view. What does that mean? What it means is we all accept that a lot of us just inherently know through our DNA awareness there's a God, there's something. And if you don't like the word God, you can acknowledge that you exist and you have consciousness. So we know two things for sure. There is existence and there is consciousness. And we know a third thing inherently, because we're doing this, there's communication. So there's a conversation, which is really cool, right? So when I get into the Bible, what I do is what came to me, and for those of you that don't know my full story about my knee and the miraculous healing from prayer and asking for guidance to try to figure out how do I tell my cells after a crippling surgery to go back into alignment so I can be perfect again. And in the course of figuring all that out and understanding how to perform what doctors would call a miracle and I would now call pure physics, in the unraveling of that information for my own healing, all this other stuff just revealed itself to me. So take it or leave it, doesn't really matter. For those of you who have studied Abraham Hicks, Kryon Bashar, a lot of teachers, Mike Dooley is the most recent person that talks about the universe and the mirroring effect. Thank you, great teachers who are out there, because as I was unraveling the information, I thought I was going a little crazy, and then I realized I'm not going crazy, I'm actually going completely sane. So back to the Bible, and I love playing with the alphabet. So the word his is so throughout the Bible. So let's start with one simple thing, right? If there is an all that is, and there is, and there's, let's back that up even further. There's existence, there's consciousness, and there's the ability to converse. And out of that oneness, the one would be having a conversation with itself. Bashar hits on this beautifully. Basically, we're all having self-conversations. So that made perfect sense. Where are we at on the board? When you look, my board's a little wonky. When you look at the letter H, you have a perfectly balanced one thing, a 1 and a 1. But what are they? This is so cool. They're yoked. So when you hear Jesus saying, yoke with me, my burden is light. That's his burden. Not just light as in the unbearable lightness of being, like it's air, but light itself. It's the mirror. So when you get to the I, there's a couple things going on here. You can look at it as a lowercase I, which would be the one moment in time, with the all-seeing eye. What do I mean by that? Well, when you look at the pyramid on the back of a dollar bill, you have the sun, the all-seeing eye of God, and you have the space, which is air, right? That allows, when you're breathing, you have to have that space to have a little perspective, right? Because if you were pushed your face up against the mirror, you couldn't really see very well. You need a little space. So you have that space. And then the S is one of my favorite letters that some people get it, some people don't, some people like the way I play with it, some people don't. Take it or leave it, whatever works for you. But what I like about the letter S is it's one of these eyes that is curved. When you have a curve in a spectrum, you have the bending of light, but it's still one thing, but it's just curved, able to do what? Well, we have the snake in the Bible The serpent. Now this gets a little tricky, and for goodness sakes, everybody stay really neutral here. Don't get religious on me. But the serpent does what? It speaks to Eve. Don't go for good or evil, just go for neutral information. And it talks to her. Well, if it's all one thing, it's talking to another aspect of itself, a male and female aspect. And here's that infinity loop. And we have the snake chasing its tail. So if you go back to the Bible and you start seeing the Bible as a conversation of all that is with all that is, and an equally yoked perspective, God unraveling its own consciousness on one platform, meaning in that one book, then it brings everything into a whole different perspective, not just of the Bible itself, but for you as a consciousness, as one aspect of all that is. And you start to understand the section where, what does it say? Man's folly, man's wisdom is folly to God. It really starts to make a lot of sense, and not only was I brought down a notch, like, wow, we really missed a lot of information here. Not to be rude to our intellect, but just there's such a higher coding and a higher level going on in every chapter and every page and every book, but even bigger in every letter. Try this one on. If you take a whiteboard and then you make these black letters, you start to see that it's punched. I hope this makes sense, but you've punched a hole, like a black hole. You've busted through one infinite nothingness, and you've created through the other side. So like when I leave a black letter HIS, you now as an interpreter going through the other side, receiving that information. So someone writes something down and then you receive it. So it's like punching a hole through universes, because it passes information from one side of consciousness to another side of consciousness, or one point in space to another point in space. So when someone, this is a Bashar quote and it makes perfect sense. If someone is going to sing a song, there's someone ready to hear it. And someone asks a question, there's someone with the answer. And you start to see how it all crisscrosses itself. So it becomes far less a argument or a debate of right, wrong, good, and bad, but it really does reveal itself how you become like a child, just taking on information of consciousness, and the joy factor of playing with the malleability of light and existence and consciousness brings it back down to the all-lovingness of God. There's no right or wrong. It's just perspectives and different understandings of all of it on Earth and throughout the cosmos. And Earth itself, maybe we just weren't quite ready yet, but we are now, right? And so as this capstone, this all-seeing eye of God becomes self-aware, then the His becomes a yoked consciousness of a oneness of the male and female aspects. Jesus and Mary with the Sacred Heart. And it doesn't just lower the bar in the sense of it's not so complicated anymore, but it really raises the intensity of the intricacies of things like never changing a letter in the first 5 books of the Bible, and like why everything was copied so perfectly, because it's so meticulously, majestically, and harmonically woven together. So that's my video for today. Kind of short, but I haven't done a video in a couple days, and this has been one of my favorite things for a few years now, about a different way to look at the Bible. Thank you for your comments and questions. I hope you're having a fabulous week, and I will see you soon. This is Christina from I Am Publishing. Take it easy, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.